Good morning, I'm back. It's Monday, September 26th, and I had a great weekend, but I'm back and we're doing Schoolgirl Sampler, and we're on block 49 and 50. 49, this is 49, it's called the Electric Fan. I think that's a fun name. And then the other one down here is the Crossroads. So both real fun blocks to do, but some things to learn on each one of them. So let's get started, okay? I'm going to start here at the cutting table because I want to give you a little tip on cutting these triangles for this block. This is called a quarter square triangle block because there's 4, so quarter is 4, you get that, 4 squares, 4 triangles, and the way that you do that is you cut a block that's bigger than the actual triangles, and then you slice it twice on the diagonal, and that gives you the triangles. It also gives you bias in the inside, so you're sewing on the bias, but when you're done on the outside you're going to have a straight edge, and that's your desired preference to do that. But the thing that I have found is if I cut them individual, if I don't get them exactly the same, they don't line up. So I have learned to do them. It's best for me if I stack them. So I have all 4 of my blocks, all 4 fabrics, just stacked up right one on top of the other and lined up really good. And then also, in the book, she gives the measurement, and it's a 1/4 inch measurement. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of a square up insurance, and I'm going to go up to a 1/2 inch. So use your increment, and instead of a 1/4 inch, go up to a 1/2 inch. And this is going to give you a little bit more wiggle room when you go to square up, and I'll show you what I mean when I get there. So let's go ahead and cut this. I'm just going to lay my ruler right on the points and cut. And then I'm not going to move anything. I'm going to gently lift my ruler up, turn my ruler so that it's on the points going the opposite direction, and go ahead and cut that. And now I have 4 triangles that are all the same, and we'll just stack those up, and then we'll bring the book, we'll bring everything over to the, so I'm going to start out by making the electric fan, and I'm going to sort out my fabrics. Going to find my darkest fabric, which I probably am going to use this brown as my darkest fabric. So it's going to go in place of the blue.
So I'm happy to take a special order, just know that it might be months.
And then I think I'll pair that up with this orange. I'm feeling very fallish today. This weekend, I went on a retreat to Clifty Falls Inn. It was super duper nice. But when we left, everything was green, and when we came home, everything was kind of turning colors. And the corn is all turned. I mean, so it made you feel like fall, and the air's a little bit crisp, and so I just am in a fall mood, so I just kind of picked out some fall colors to celebrate the beginning of fall. Some people just love fall. So I think this represents fall pretty well, don't you? I've used my Peter background, and I've used kind of a gold and kind of a rusty color and this brown.
All of my favorites.
Yeah, and so I've just kind of laid them out like this first block here. So my background is A, and then my gold is the B, and then my brown the C, and then D for my orange. So all the blocks are the same. Okay, we're gonna make them all at once. I have to have my foot pedal and I have to have my shoes off. Get all this prepared. Okay. Now, when I pick my pears up, I'm going to do it just like it says in my book. I'm going to do A to B. And when I pick those up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them together face to face, and I'm going to remember which side is my seam side. So I know I've got to sew right here, but I don't want to start on the point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip that over. I still know this is my seam. Don't get confused, okay? But know where your seam is. Put them right sides together and then flip that so that you're starting on this flat edge instead of that point. Because that point is very tender because it is all bias. And you do not want that to be pulling down into your machine if you don't have a single hole plate. It could just not be a good situation. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing. I'm going to pick my next one up and do the same thing. I know there's where my seam is. And I'm going to put my gold on the top, or B on the top, whatever you're using for B. I'm putting it on the top.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm sliding that right up against my needle so that my needle grabs it right away. If you start back away from your needle and you start stitching and your sewing machine doesn't like to stitch on air, then you could be in big trouble. So I just slide that right up to the needle. And then that first bite of the needle takes my fabric in. Now, a lady at the retreat, listen, I had so much fun at the retreat, sewing with my friends. It was fabulous. And every so often somebody will have an issue. And her issue is that even though she had her feed dogs engaged, they were up, something had happened on the inside of her machine that caused the feed dogs, the back part of the feed dogs, to be up higher than the front part of the feed dogs. And so her pieces weren't going through very well. And so I asked her, I says, now, Elaine, hi Elaine. I said, Elaine, how long has it been since you've had this machine in for a nice little cleaning and a spa day? And she says, never. I says, how long have you had that machine, Elaine? Oh, maybe 8 or 10 years. Elaine! See, you need to have your sewing machine in for a spa day every year. Because little springs and oil gums up inside there because they use a thick grease, and over time that grease gets really thick and grungy and it has to be cleaned out and replaced. And then they check all the springs, make sure all the little screws haven't jarred themselves loose. I mean, it's just one of those things. You have to put license plates on your car every year, so maybe when your license plates come, that reminds you to get your machine to the spa day or something. I don't know. Use something to help you remind you that it's time to take your sewing machine in for a spa day. So, if your feed dogs aren't working, your sewing machine's not going to have a pretty stitch. May not have a stitch at all. So you want to make sure that you take good care of your equipment. I don't know where my little doohickey went. If it doesn't fit in my locker, it doesn't come anymore because I keep my stuff in my locker now. So there we go. There's that. And you know, of course, I'm going to have to press those seams open. And again, they're bias. This is the part that's not biased. That's the straight of grain right there. And that's going to be the outside of our block. And so on the outside, you always want it to have the straight of grain. Okay. And you're going to see when I press these, it has this little butterfly effect up here because of the two triangles that stick out. Don't worry about that at this point. These are oversized, and when we square these up, that'll come off. But at this point, we're not going to worry about them, okay? We're just going to leave them alone. Boy, I did a lot of sewing this week. This weekend, I'm doing a quilt called the Dessert Sampler, and it has 51 blocks, and I got them all done at the retreat. I'm so excited. Now I'm just got to put them together.
That's awesome.
I know. It was quite an achievement. And every time I get a block done, 32, 33, 30, you know, I'd have to shout it out. So it was pretty exciting for me. But I just worked on the one thing the whole time. And persevered and got it done. So now I can put it together and send it off to the quilter. I haven't made myself a quilt in a long time. So that was very nice. Oh, and all the inspiration that was there. There were 74 people. Everybody was sewing on something different. So it was really neat to go around the room and see everything that everybody was doing. Okay, now I'm going to lay these back out. Just like my picture. So there's C and D. And here's A and B. Okay? Now, if this block were to stand on its own, it'd look a little weird with that gray with these three colors, but it's going to go in my quilt. That's going to have these in every block. So right now it looks kind of suspicious, but when it gets with the other blocks, it'll look just fine. Now what I'm going to do, of course, is I'm going to lay my seams together so that they line up. Gonna take my pin. Am I gonna pin? Why, yes I am. Gonna pin right there. And because this is bias, I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna pin. Because now I don't have a choice. I've got to start on that point. But to help keep that point from going down into the machine, I'm gonna pin right there. So I'm gonna do that 4 times. And see how I pull that back to make sure that it's all lined up. See how far off that is? I'm going to have to pull that in, get that lined up. I did that on purpose so you could see that it just pulls up there and lines right up. And some people pin one and then sew it, and then pin another one and sew it. I just kind of like to pin all mine at once. That way, when I'm over there, when I'm pinning, I'm pinning. When I'm sewing, I'm sewing. And that's just kind of a personal thing, I think. Some people won't pin at all. That's fine. Don't need to pin if you don't want to. I'm not the quilting police, piecing police, whatever. I'm just here to make suggestions. If they work for you, great. If you find an easier or better way for you, that's fine too. So I'm going to pin this. I want to get, and see how those just line up really nice because I cut them all at the same time and they're all the same. So I love that. So now I'm going to put that down and make sure I've got that right up to the needle. And again, I'm sewing on bias, so I'm being very careful. And you know that these 4-inch blocks are so fun and are so quick. I'm going to use my little square up ruler, you know, the one I love so much. The one I can't live without, my little triangle square up ruler. Don't run over your pins. I think I tell you that every week.
I think it's a good reminder. We need the reminder.
It's a good reminder. You don't want to do that. Stop. Okay. Okay, got those done. All right, now see how they are? They're oversized, remember, because I had you bump up that measurement. And so now I'm going to square them up. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just pretend that they are kind of a half square triangle, which they are, but they're in 2 pieces and they have a seam going up the middle. And luckily, so does our ruler. So you can put that right on the seam, and then you want to make sure that that line goes right up the middle. And see how I've got it oversized? So now I have the opportunity to get it exactly right. If you use the other measurement, if you got a little wonky in your sewing, your thing would be wonky because it's exactly the size. This way, I get to actually determine the correct size because I've oversized it, and now I can resize it. And look at how perfect that turns out.
Yummy.
See that?
I love it.
That's what you want. You want that, all 4 of those to come together, and then you want your points. So I really love how that turns out. And I do that with all my quarter square triangles. I make sure that I have enough oversized to go ahead and be able to trim up once I get all 4 of those triangles made. And then I go ahead and trim off these little... Now, this was a question at the retreat one of the girls had. She says, I watch your videos and I see that you have your rotary cutter and you just slice that back at an angle. She says, what angle? You know, what degree of an angle? It doesn't matter as long as it is an angle. Okay? It could be a sharp angle, but you don't want it so sharp that you're going to... cut into your stitching line. I just kind of do an angle. It doesn't matter if it's a 45-degree angle or there's no determination. You just kind of eyeball it. You just want that out of your way so that when you open it up and press it open, it's not going to stick out like those dog ears that they do, which I don't like calling them dog ears because I don't like the idea of chopping off some dog's ear with your rotary cutter. Okay, I got extra kisses from Chloe, and she didn't want me to leave, and I got gobs of hugs because I haven't seen her for 4 days, and so it was good to see her this morning. See, now that was a weird angle, but I just wanted that out of my way, and that's just how it landed. So I'm not going to worry that it's not a complete 45-degree angle. But I thought that was a good question because, you know, that was something she was worried about. She's trying to improve her skills, and she just thought that was something you know, that needed addressed. And I thought that was a good tip too. So I'm going to clean that up. Clean this up. And sometimes I clean up those those triangles with my rotary cutter. But if I'm using triangle paper or where I have a whole stack of them, I'll pick up my scissors because it's faster for me to do it with my scissors than to do it with my rotary cutter. Because I'll have already had my scissors in my hand, or if I already have my rotary cutter in my hand, whichever's most convenient. So now I'm just going to pile all my little bits and pieces up here on my, put them in my little trash can that Peter loaned me. Okay, and now I'm going to press these open. But I just love how that, when you square it up, it makes it so nice. And I just love it when all those points come together. And so we're making 4, and we started out with just 1 square, but remember we cut it into 4ths. So that's what allowed us to get 4 quarter square triangle blocks out of 1 square of each color. And I think this is going to be pretty. I used kind of fall colors on my original one, on the one I made before class. I used red, but with that gold, I thought that looked kind of fallish. I just love those. What are those, fire bushes? Is that what they're called? Those ones that turn really red?
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, now, laying this out is a little bit tricky, but if you think of it this way, A is your lightest color or your background. For me, it's my background. It's my Peter background. So I'm just going to, I know where my Peter background is. I'm just going to look at that. I'm not going to try and look at all of them. They're all made the same. So I'm not going to worry about if they all fall in place. They'll fall in place as long as I rotate them where A is. And see how that just falls in place? And I don't have to try to, oh, is that going right? As long as these are falling in place, you know that it's going to be right. So now all I have to do is sew it like a 4-patch. So I'm going to pick this one up. And what happens is you get a secondary pinwheel looking thing in the middle. I'm going to line that up. I'm not going to pin it. I'm not on bias anymore. Pick this one up. Peter gets in here as tight as he can, but I get my hand in the way sometimes. I'm going to move it back, try to move it back so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to put that all the way up to the needle. Guide that through. Now I saw that my fabric kind of bunched up there, so I'm going to lay that down with my stiletto and continue to sew. Then of course pressing that open again. And this was another thing that one of the girls was having trouble with. Her thumbs don't let her open this fabric. For some reason, she doesn't have feeling in her thumb, or I'm not sure what the situation was, but she has a hard time getting that to split open. So I wanted to show you that what I do is I put my finger, my middle finger just goes right in that seam, and then I push against it with my thumb to open that up. And then I just kind of take my fingers and just kind of open that with my fingers, and then it opens pretty easy. What she did was she had like a rubber stiletto. It's a Clover product, and it's blue. It's rubber. And what she did was she would lay it down on her clapper, and then she would use this instrument to open it up like that. And so if you're having difficulties opening your seam, you might want to have a tool or something that will help you open that if you can't feel it in your thumb or that's an issue for you. So, okay, I know that my A is my background, so there it is, and there it is again. And so I'm going to put that together and see how that forms a pinwheel.
That's looking so
Isn't
good
that pretty?
as it comes together.
Does it say fall to you?
It does. I love fall.
It says like falling leaves.
I have my
or
wool shirt
something.
on. I was
Yeah.
very happy this morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Put on my wool shirt.
Okay.
Driving to work was amazing.
Well, I'll tell you
'Cause
what. It was like one day the corn was green and the next day the corn was golden. So I don't know what happened in between. Mother Nature, you know. She was busy at work. We were at Clifty Falls. So
That's a beautiful place.
yeah, it is a beautiful place, and you sure do get to see the trees. And it's south, you know, a couple hours south, so they hadn't started to change completely yet. But we got to start seeing some change. Every day we would get up and the view would be different. Okay, press that open. Ooh, that looks good. Looking good. I love it when it all works out. Oh, if Peter gets a chance, I took pictures of people's working pincushions. And so if he gets a chance at the end of the video, maybe he can do a little montage.
I'll do a post at the end of the
Okay.
video.
Okay, but
I think that'll
be
be
fun.
perfect.
Oh, because there was so many fun.
Oh, I can't wait.
Very unique pin cushions.
What a treat.
Yeah. So okay, there's my block for this one. Okay. All right. Boy, they look really different, don't they? Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, I like that fire red too, Dawn.
Yeah, that's really pretty. Okay, now for this block, I'm going to get out my Marty Michelle 45-degree corner trimmer. You know, we've talked about this little
Hold the
trimmer.
package up like this, and I'll get a good shot. So when people come into the shop, they can see what they're looking for. This is a lifesaver. I love this thing.
Yeah, this is a great tool.
Keep me from getting frustrated and quitting quilting.
Now, this is not a ruler. This is a template, okay? There are no measurements on it. It's strictly just for cutting. It's one purpose. It's kind of a one-purpose deal. And so it doesn't come with any kind of grippiness on the back, and neither does this ruler, okay? This, my favorite ruler. So what I like are these true grips, and I would have showed you these before, but we just got them back in stock since COVID. It's been crazy trying to get them. But what they are they're little donuts.
I like donuts.
Speaking of
I like
donuts,
donuts.
Peter, I'm off sugar.
Oh,
So,
so we can't call them donuts. We need to call them like
we
something
can
else.
call them donuts, but I can't eat donuts.
Like Cheerios.
So what it is it's like sticky. These are rubbery, so they're grippy. See, they don't move. So you can't hardly even pick them up off there. But it's a donut shape with a little circle in the middle like that. And it's sticky on the other side. And so you can see here on my ruler how I've put them on there. There's one of the donut shapes. And then the circle in the inside I used here on my points, so that I have grips.
Oh, look at you.
See? And I should do the same thing on this ruler so it doesn't slip and slide when I'm trying to use it. So,
Hey, Dawn.
yes.
Are those good for only small rulers?
No,
like these,
they're
or are
good
they made
for
like your
everything.
big, the big giant rulers?
Yes, everything. But if you get Creative Grids, they already have them built in. Non-slip things.
That's true.
But you can use every bit of this. You can even use the little piece that goes in between.
You know what I love them for?
What?
I'm doing that smitten quilt, and it has plastic templates. It's a EPP quilt.
Yeah, any
And
template.
I have a bunch of plastic templates.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get them for that.
You need to do that because templates typically don't have grippers on them. So
No, and they
maybe you can
slide.
buy this package since I tore it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I brought it over so that Peter could see.
What's my
he
price?
could post it. The price is $5.99.
Oh.
So, you know, it's a good price for what you're getting. So anyway, so what I've done when I've cut this block out is, these are squares and they're typical and they're an odd increment, but you must cut them that increment. Don't bump them up, don't bump them down, cut them the weird increment that they are. So the middle I'm going to put right here. I'm not going to use my cutter. I'm going to put it right here. Then my four sides. Gonna go there. And then it had me cut for these side triangles one large square, just like we did for the quarter square triangle. And that had me cut it into fourths, so I know my bias is right here. This will be my outside edge, which is non-bias. And I'm just going to go ahead and place those in place. Okay? And I'm not going to cut the corners off. You're going to see why here in a minute. There's no need for cutting the corners off of this. Okay? So now I'm just going to sew it together like the 9 patch that it is. So here we go. This has got to be a straight edge out here, down here. So I'm going to just flip this over, and this is why I don't have to cut the corners off, because really all I'm doing is lining up this straight edge with that straight edge, and those little corners can just fall off to the side. And then here's my next part of my 9 patch. And it's, both of those squares are exactly the same. And since I don't have any seams to line up, I'm not pinning anything. Don't feel the need to pin. Do want to line those up though. Make sure that they lined up on 2 edges there. I know that this one goes up there, this one goes in the middle, and this one goes down here. And I'm not going to cut those off, just going to press that open.
Okay, thank you.
Not going to worry about that little extra. If it bothers you, you can cut it off, but I'm going to cut all mine off at the same time. I'll show you how I do that. Okay.
Is it going to be worth the price of admission?
Probably not that big of a deal, but
I feel like it's
nice.
going to be worth the price of admission. You know
Okay,
why?
Why?
Because I would cut mine off individually, and I want to see how to do it not cut them off individually.
Okay. Alrighty. So there we go. We've got part of our 9 patch, and then we're just going to flip this one over and do the same thing. We're going to just line that 2 edges up. Making sure this one lines up. You don't want this one like off a little bit. Making sure both edges line right up. Okay, that one's not lining up for me, so I'm just using my fingernail to just kind of scratch a little bit to get that fabric to lay in place. Sometimes fabric has a mind of its own. You just got to show it who's boss. Say, I'm the boss of my quilt. We have a cross stitch that says that. I'm the boss of my own quilt. So I'm lining those up, making sure, and then just repeating the same thing, cutting those apart, not worrying about those extra hangover pieces. Going ahead and pressing my seams open. See, it's not hard for me to open those seams, so I never thought about it being hard for somebody. I just am so used to doing it. My hands, my muscle memory, it's just so used to it that I just never gave it a second thought that it wouldn't be just that easy for everybody. And when she came to me and said, I just can't get these seams open, what can I do? Or this is what I do to get the seams open. I thought it was brilliant that she had gone ahead and adjusted and fixed her solution, to the way she can open seams.
I had struggled with it myself.
Have you?
And I still do on occasion. Because I didn't know the Dawn technique with the
finger underneath,
thumb.
kind
the
of,
finger underneath. But one thing I would do is I would just lay it on the pressing bar and then use my forefinger at the end where the iron's going to go, finger press it, and then that would give it enough to where I could get the tip of the iron in there, and then use my iron to open the seam as I went.
I
But
see.
I didn't know how to, I didn't know there was a way to do it. So I can't wait to go home and try that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah, we have.
I think that'll be much easier, much better. Because I couldn't figure out when I watched you, you made it you just.
yeah.
I don't
So
know.
my finger, my middle finger is just right there, and I just kind of give it a little stretch, and then I just take my thumb and just split
That's
the fabric.
genius. I tell you what.
If it doesn't work for you, of course, use a tool if
I
that
love
helps
it.
you.
Okay, well, according to inventory.
But if you have arthritis and you can't bend your thumb that way, or if you have large hands and maybe it just doesn't work for you, or small hands, I don't know. I don't know if my hands are small or big. I mean, it's all relative, I suppose. But I've never had an issue with it. So it was interesting to me. When I'm here by myself and I'm just doing my own thing, I just, only can attest to the things that I struggle with. So it's wonderful when you guys say to me, hey, I have this issue. I wonder what we could do to make it easier for me to do. And so it's important, if you want to leave me a comment, if you're struggling with something, for me to try and help figure out maybe a solution for you. I would love for you to leave me a comment and challenge me that way, because it's all about helping each other, inspiring each other, and giving each other hints and just, it's just a community that should just embrace each other and help each other. So
Share the knowledge.
share the knowledge. So now see all these points that I have? See those? I'm just going to get my square up ruler here. I'm just going to put that on the edge. Now, it would be better if I had a square ruler and not my square up ruler, because then I would have lines to make sure I'm straight. But I forgot to bring my square up ruler today, so we're just going to fly by the seat of our pants.
When you went to your retreat, did you forget anything?
No, I did not forget anything. I
Hey,
packed
how was that?
very well.
How was the new trolley that you
Yeah, I
used?
bought one of those. What are those called? Tudo bags.
Yeah.
On rollers. Boy, it was nice. Very nice.
You almost got me
And
thinking to get one.
it's thin. So, I just sat it right at the side of the table. And it had all my stuff real handy there. I could just reach in the bag and pull out whatever I needed. It was nice. I bought it for cross-stitch retreats, but it worked out really nice.
That's good.
So there you go. I cleaned that edge up, and now my block is real nice and square. I mean, well, it's not square. It's, I don't know how many sides that is and what it's called, but now we need to make it square. And the reason I didn't cut these at the same time I cut my other ones is because I didn't want to get the triangles confused.
Oh.
Because when you cut them down, they're going to be about the same size.
Oh.
Because those triangles you cut on one square and you cut twice on the diagonal. This one, you use 2 squares. And I'm going to line them up. I've got 2 squares, one on top of the other. And you just cut it once on the diagonal.
I never stacked mine to cut.
You don't?
I cut them individually.
No, I don't. Unless, I mean, if there's more than 4.
But I'm going to start stacking them now because
Okay.
that's a time saver.
Okay, yeah. And so now I'm going to take those apart. And these are going to be my corners. This is when I'm going to get my corner trimmer out. Okay? And I'm lining up this side. Oops, punched it too hard. I'm lining up both sides. This side and this side. And I'm using my rotary cutter, and there's 2 cuts because there's 2 angles. See that? 2 cuts, 2 angles. And now I'm just going to turn my tool and do the other side. I have to look over there and make sure. Yep, okay. 2 angles. And you know that one, look at the piece I cut off. It's hardly anything, but it makes such a difference. See that? It makes such a difference. So I did that one. I'm going to do this one. My corner trimmer makes such a difference.
Lifesaver. A block saver is what it is.
It makes
Saves
such
your
a
block.
difference. It really helps you line these up.
That's the most valuable tool I bought this year.
I can believe that. Okay.
That and that little 3.5 inch, or is it the 3.5? The Creative Grids makes the little slender one.
I'm not quite sure.
So like 2.5 by 6 or 3.5 by 6.
Yeah,
3 by
3.5.
Love that
No,
one.
there's no. Creative Grids are mostly all. I mean, they do have a 5-inch
It's
ruler.
that little skinny thing.
But it's 3.5 by whatever.
Love
Okay,
that.
now these are my corners. This is what's going to make my block square. See, my block right now is this weird shape. Okay? I'm not going to put it on the same color. I'm going to put them over here. Okay? And this is going to make my block square. See this?
Doesn't look square to me.
See
Looks
how,
like it sticks out.
look at how fun that is. Now see how that's going to be a square when I get those sewn in? So now I'm just going to take this, and when I lay this over...
Can you move that over here?
Oh,
Because I want to see how
I'm
to
sorry.
match it up.
Yeah. See
This
how
is
that
important.
just... See how those edges just come right in there? And that just... I mean, it's like magic. And now I know that the point is in the middle of my block, so that when I open it up, it will be the correct angle to be the corner
Nice.
of my block. Put that in there.
Very cool.
Now I'm going to do the next one. Let's look at how it just magically just lays right in there. And those angles are just perfect to line that up with. Otherwise, those dog ears or the triangle, the excess triangle, would be in your way and you wouldn't know if you were lined up or not. So I'm going to do this 4 times. Right sides, put fabric right sides together. Hexagon, octagon, I don't know which.
Octa.
Was
8
it an
sides.
Was it an 8-sided? I didn't
Uh-huh.
even count them.
I did.
Okay, so now here we go. We've got our corners sewn on. Now I'm just going to go ahead and open those seams, and you're going to see what a nice square block I have. And this one just looks so pretty with that that dark orangey, dark cheddary color with this gray background. There was a girl doing jewel tones with a really
Ooh.
dark gray background. Oh, her blocks were delicious. She was making 12.5-inch blocks and 4.5-inch blocks, the same design. Oh man, they were beautiful. They were just beautiful. Okay, so there it is. Now you'll see that my edges sometimes have that little dip in them. Like this one's really evident. That's okay. That'll just be in my seam allowance. My seam allowance is down here.
Good. I was worried about that.
Yeah, that's not going to matter.
So that little
matter.
goes right in the seam allowance.
That little
Very
dip.
cool.
Yeah, that little divot. Okay, so look at that. And there it is. The crossroads and the electric fan. Oh, good. Looks pretty good, don't you think?
Love
This one's
'em.
not laying real well, but when I give it a good press, let me bring my mat over here. Give it a good press.
Disinfecting towelettes and something else, so that's not your...
Nope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I set mine. The other thing I've learned,
What?
is when I get done and it's pressed and it cools down, I stick all my blocks underneath my big cutting ruler
Oh, yeah.
just to get a little extra
Weight.
pressure. Yeah, weight.
Little weight on there.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's
so-
where they live.
Oh, good. So now do you see how much flatter that is now that I've given it a good press?
Flatten it out.
Yeah.
Flatten it out.
So I think these blocks were fun.
Very fun.
I think it's this one is a good opportunity to do some color play.
I like that.
Yeah.
Red is just
Yeah, that red one is
scrumptious.
nice, isn't it? Yeah, I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed this background. I don't know if I've used that background before or not, but
turkey tracks.
yeah, turkey tracks. So it was lots of fun to do those. We're on 49 and 50. Electric fan and crossroads. We're moving right along.
What blocks are you guys on that are sewing along? Are you
Yeah.
finished? Are you keeping
Ooh.
up? Are you on 32 like me?
We
are
took a
you
survey.
ahead?
We took a survey at the retreat.
Or have you started yet?
Yeah. Some of the girls on the retreat were just 1 week behind, but most of them had been caught up. So I was really happy about that.
That's awesome.
And then we were making potato chip blocks. Lots of people were making potato chip blocks.
How many did you make?
I got 13. 13
Wow.
potato chip blocks done. And the girl beside me, I think she got 9 or 10.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, we were pumping those potato
Did you
chip
have your blue
blocks
tape out?
I did. I put my blue tape. It's a good thing too, because I went over a couple times and had to back off.
Now, do you have to
so.
put it on the floor too?
No,
like,
don't have to
table
put
in
it
the
on-
floor?
No. We don't get that ridiculous. Unless we're having fun with it. But no, it was fun. And the drive down was so beautiful. So look forward to seeing all the pin cushions at the end of the video, okay?
Yes.
Everybody at the retreat.
Tell us which one's your favorite.
The turtle. The turtle was fun.
Oh, that's your favorite.
And the hearts there were some ladies that had hearts hanging from their machine, and their pin cushion was right here.
What?
Yeah. Somehow maybe they hung it on their bobbin thing or something, and it was hanging down. And so their pin cushion was right there.
That's what I want.
So at home and on my travel machine, I have a sticky thing right here, and my pin cushion goes there.
Nice.
So it's not in my way when I'm sewing. So anyway, have a good time making your 2 other blocks, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.